In this video, we are going to install, set up, and get started with Ultimaker Cura.
The first thing we need to do is download Cura. So let's go ahead and Google the name Ultimaker Cura. And you should just be able to click the first link. And as you can see, Cura is free, so select download. And then you will select the download that applies to you. I have a Windows computer, so I will select this one. And I'll let it download. And once it's done, I'll run the file and go through the setup. And it should take less than a minute to install. And once you have it installed, hit finish and launch it. And the first thing you'll see is this pop-up. Click get started and agree and next. And we don't need to sign in. Let's just skip all of this. And next we need to add our printer. And unless your printer is the Ultimaker brand, you need to select the non-Ultimaker printer option. And my printers are not connected through my network. Now, if we scroll through our options, you can see printers are separated by brands. So if you have an Ender 3, you would go to Creality, for example. Or if you have an FLSUN printer, you would go to FLSUN. So select the printer you have. In my case, I have an Elegoo Neptune 3 Pro, so that's what I will select. And hit next. And let's skip this. And hit finish.
You can see I already had this added to mine, so it just added it a second time. We can actually remove this, and I'm going to actually go ahead and do that. But if you have more than one type of printer, you just go over here to add printer, and you can continue to add more and more until you have all of your printers that you have added to your selection. I'm going to go ahead and select the Elegoo Neptune 3 Pro in this case. And then I'm going to go over here to my print settings. And I actually don't like it to look like this. It's nice because it's super simple. You only have a few things to mess with, like supports. It's some of the more basic things that you will look at.
Like I can change my infill.
It's a pretty nice place to start for beginners, but it doesn't give you a lot of options on changing settings for things like support and adhesion, which I actually want to have the freedom to do. So I'm going to go ahead and click Show Custom. And now we have a little bit more control over what we're doing. I'm going to go ahead and click here and go to Collapse All Categories so you can see how much more control we have. We have all of these options here. And so I can add some, I can remove some. So some of the things that'll show up are quality and walls. I can easily open up options or minimize them just by clicking on the top tab. But it gives us a lot more control over things like support and build plate adhesion. And you'll notice whenever I hover over features, it actually gives me a pretty detailed analysis of what this thing does. And so if I scroll down to infill, for example, you'll see that it gives me a pretty detailed explanation of what I can expect from different infill densities. It gives me images and explanations of why I would want one option versus another. If I hover over infill pattern, you can see there's actually so much information that you can actually scroll through it. Now, on yours, you might not have this yet. So you're going to need to go to Marketplace to turn this on. And so that's just going to be this settings guide here. And that will add more options. Right now, what you should have is just a quick paragraph explanation of what different things do. So if you go into Marketplace, go ahead and install the settings guide. And since we're dealing with Elegoo Neptune printers, go ahead and type in Elegoo in your search bar and make sure you install the Elegoo Neptune thumbnail as well. This is super useful because if you're working with an Elegoo Neptune printer, it'll actually export the thumbnail image of what you are printing onto the screen of your Elegoo printer, which is really nice. And there's a lot of other options in here. A lot of really cool things to install. You can see that there are certain things that I have already installed in mine just because I've been playing with this for a while. And as you go further in, you will want to install more and more as you learn more and more about 3D printing. But for now, those two, just the settings guide and the Elegoo Neptune thumbnail, are more than enough for what you need as you get started.
If you found this video helpful, do me a favor and hit that like button, and please consider subscribing. And don't forget, this video was part 1 of a series. Click the Continue Learning option to watch part 2, or you can click the link to the full playlist down in the description.